Happy International Women's Day, everybody. So today is the day that's widely known across the globe as the day that celebrates all the wonderful women in your life in whatever capacity you want to do that in. So for me, I want to celebrate single women who buy a house by themselves because I think that takes a lot of strength and a lot of courage, and it's always something that I've genuinely and honestly admired. I've been really fortunate through the years to be able to serve women like this, and this is, this is first-time buyers. This is women who have left bad situations or buying a house as a single mom, they're getting divorced, whatever the case may be. I just always thought that was actually really kind of badass, to be honest. So this is about buying a house as a single woman. I did reach out to some friends and family across the country who I know have done this in the past, and we've compiled some tips. I have an info sheet just here, so I'm going to look off to the side and grab that for you, but we will do an accompanying blog post that I'll have up within 24 hours for you. But before we jump in, I wanted to share a really funny tidbit about Canadian history, and that's, did you know that in the 1970s it was impossible for a woman to own property in her own name? So really what was impossible was women getting a loan in their own name. So couldn't do that. Early 1970s, that was impossible. So here we are, approximately 45 or so years later, and not only is it possible, but women are leading the charge as the demographic for purchasers in this country, single women. And that's amazing. So this, I think, is also about celebrating those steps forward that we've taken. And I think that that's really cool. Okay. So some tips for me is the number one thing I have to say, and the number one thing I've noticed, is to make sure that when you're buying a place, you understand you're buying it for you, for your needs. It doesn't matter what your friends think. It doesn't matter what your family thinks. If you are not into downtown living and infill living and you want to buy a condo out in Sherwood Park or St. Albert, this is very much a you do you situation. You are the one who's going to have to pay the bills and deal with the resale and all that kind of stuff. So I think this is a really good time to be selfish. So that's probably my number one tip. And the other thing I have to say is taking the time to educate yourself on each step of the way. And that's what I'm here for. So there you go. Okay, so I have a friend who says, don't be afraid to ask for help moving and setting up to save money for the purchase. So I think that that's great. And those are two different things. Don't be afraid to ask for help moving. Of course, we live in a beer and pizza currency society. I think so many people would say yes. So I think it's a matter of understanding we're strong and independent, but asking for help doesn't take anything away from that. And I'm sure your tribe of friends would be willing to help you. Setting up to save money for the purchase. I 100% agree. And save more money than you think. And a lot of that comes in the preparation. So I have had people call me up and say, Kim, I want to buy a house within 6 to 12 months. Is it too soon to start talking to you? Or is it too soon to start talking to a mortgage broker? And no, it's not too soon. I think if you're the first time buyer and you're buying that far out, now's the time to start planning, because you may not realize what you need to have in place or what could be wrong with your credit, any of those things. So I think having savings is important, and there's two different sets before. So saving for the down payment, for legal costs, for moving costs, all that kind of stuff. And after. So we used to call this a slush fund in our industry, and a slush fund can be for anything: repairs to the home, blinds. Blinds are weirdly expensive. Landscaping, whether it's a new house or an old house. New house, that's not often included. There's lots to know there. Furniture, yard equipment, movers, all that stuff that you wouldn't really anticipate. Knowing the cost to run a household. So a hot tip there, ask the sellers. We would say, hey, I have a first time buyer here. What are your gas bills? What are your heating bills? All that kind of stuff. Understanding that if they have a family of 5 and you're one person, those are going to be different numbers, but it does kind of give you a framework. So I think that's good. And if you don't want a condo because you don't want to pay condo fees, you can always hire out the snow and grass maintenance. So if you're really into buying a cute little house in Old Strathcona, you're not a condo girl. I'm not a condo person. I love them, but at this stage in my life, it wouldn't be for me. So I get it. I would just hire a neighborhood person or a maintenance company, and I would figure that all out in the price. So understanding your budget, and that delves into my next point. Check your credit score as soon as you know you want to buy. So if you say, okay, I want to buy in 12 months, check it today. You can do it online free with Equifax. I think that's the number one that they use. I'll link some mortgage brokers down below and you can check with them. Making sure there's no mistakes. We've talked about this before, but I personally have had mistakes registered on my credit that were not from me. And there's lots of tips you can use to get your credit score up. I don't know what they are, but your financial planner or your mortgage broker can definitely help you with that. And a mortgage broker would also agree to talk to you early on, so don't worry about that. Safety. Safety was probably another big thing, a big trend that I saw throughout all the feedback. Get a security system right away. I totally agree. So that's something you can work into kind of your monthly budget. And there's lots of different security systems. You can go fancy or not fancy. I personally have one I control from my phone. I think it's the greatest thing. And in addition to safety, you should know that you can check online crime stats. So that's important. Maybe as a single woman, if you're buying in an area that's a little bit busier, you wouldn't buy like a ground floor condo or anything. Something that's really popular for some of my younger millennial buyers, and even people in their early 20s, late teens, early 20s, moving here for university, are those kind of stacked townhouses where they have a drive-in garage and like one street entrance and then a balcony around back. Those are also considered pretty safe. Okay. Lastly, due diligence when hiring contractors for repairs or upgrades. So this is probably my favorite tip. I actually chuckled. I never even thought of this myself, and that surprises me because I'm very into research. But this is from a friend in Winnipeg. She said, don't be intimidated about asking questions. Ask for a reference and do Google and court searches. Court searches, what a great idea. So you can go and see if the person's a scammer or not. Because sometimes we find these people on Facebook or Kijiji and we think, they seem kind of legit and hopefully they don't take your money and run. But that's definitely happened. I know people that's happened too. So make sure you ask friends, ask to see their work. You can go see it in person. If they don't want to show you that, then I don't know, maybe run in the other direction. So those are just some tips. If you're buying a house as a single woman in Canada and you don't know where to start, this might be a good list to have a look at. So I hope this was helpful for you. Happy Women's Day again, you guys. Have a good one.